Gain peace of mind with an efficient laundry cycle. Feel cooler air even at midday. Enjoy mealtime with food kept fresh all day long. Better inverter, LG Inverter.
Welcome back to Afternoon Express and happy Monday. We're coming to you live from our incredibly Christmased out studio. Now, today's modern home is so busy and frantic that we need the best tools around us to make life as easy and productive as possible. LG's entire range of appliances has been improved with their latest inverter technology, which makes all of them more durable, more powerful, and more efficient in every way. Co-owner of bandwidthblog.com, Bryan Smith, joins us today to unpack the inverter technology across the board. Welcome back, Bryan.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Bryan, you have such an incredible way of taking something that sounds so complicated, but allowing even the simple minds like myself to understand. Now, this inverter technology, how does it work? Let's start in the most important part of the home, the kitchen. How is it built into their refrigerators?
Absolutely. So I think inverter technology is something really interesting from LG, and it's a little bit like working with the brain, for example. If you consider how we spend our own energy, we're not on the go all the time. We know how to take a rest, we know when to sleep, we know when to go. And if you consider that's sort of the way it works across LG's appliance range. So for example, in a fridge, you might consider that when buying a fridge, there are two things you really need to evaluate. And one is how long it can keep your food fresh for. And secondly, what kind of energy consumption costs you might be in for. So an inverter motor is actually quite intelligent, and that can vary sort of the speed of depth of a fan blowing, for example, of a motor in a fridge, to cooler fridge for optimum freshness within food. So what's really exciting here is that not only do you necessarily have a fridge that can actually adjust essentially its operations to be as cool as possible, depending on how much food is inside it, you also have reduced energy consumption over time.
So let's go completely across to the other end of the spectrum. We see how this inverter technology works in LG's fridge, but how then does it work to an appliance that does the opposite, warm up like a microwave?
So if you consider, I think, possibly the biggest frustration in owning a microwave is perhaps you're trying to warm something like a steak, and you're used to it just not cooking all the way through, and you get something that's warm on the outside and cool on the inside. So the really intelligent thing with inverter technology in LG's range of NeoChef microwaves, for example, is that these microwaves actually have a number of preset modes, but they're actually intelligently able to adjust their operations based on what's being microwaved inside. So they're essentially able to adjust their output to heat effectively, let's say, beverages or meals. So that means that essentially you have a motor that's able to calibrate itself per every meal and actually ensure that whether you're doing something like fermenting a meal all the way to grilling, for example, you can actually achieve that desired result and get a meal that's cooked throughout.
Wow, that sounds like something I need. And definitely it gearing up to the festive season. A lot of people just want something quick, effective though, and obviously saving the ching-ching. Now looking on the other end of the spectrum, the inverter direct drive. How does that work in our air conditioners? More specifically, saving power, making sure, or rather not the air conditioner, to the washing machine. Yes. How does it make sure that the washing machine is quieter and works just a whole lot better than its previous models?
I'm actually glad you mentioned air conditioners because the principle is somewhat similar. If you consider in a washing machine, there's a direct drive. So that's essentially the spin cycle or the spin motor that'll power a spin cycle when you insert clothes for cleaning. And what you need to consider is that essentially these units are usually quite bulky. They're very difficult to maintain, clean, and essentially operate at times. And they can be in a big electricity draw because they usually have one setting, and that's either on or off. With an inverter motor, however, these are actually somewhat shrunk down in LG models. They're much easier to access, and what this actually means is that they can adjust their speeds per cycle. So when you input a different mode, or in some LG washing machines, they'll actually tailor this to the weight in kgs of the load inside the washing machine itself. It can actually tailor its output to give maximum power per energy consumption, which is really amazing.
I mean, shout out to everyone watching. I will definitely accept a twin wash as my Christmas present, happily with open arms. And we see the same direct drive inverter in the vacuum.
Absolutely. So vacuum cleaners are perhaps the only thing that get better the more they suck. And I think that's really, really cool when it comes
Someone's
to
quick on their Monday.
Well, if you consider when buying a cordless vacuum, for example, the frustration is if you have a wired vacuum, it doesn't necessarily always have the same draw when you're uncoupling it from power and you're relying on a battery. However, with an inverter motor, what essentially you're able to do is have all that same power draw and essentially spin up the vacuum inside to the same degree you would have a wired vacuum. So there's absolutely no loss in terms of power draw or being able to vacuum those hard to reach areas that you might normally rely on a wired vacuum for.
I had the privilege of going over to Korea, and I saw that these vacuum cleaners come with such cute little handy-dandy charging ports. So that battery port, I think you get like 2 or 3 batteries, and you can change it out, flip it, whatever you want. It's iconic. It's definitely revolutionary and something that you should get. Thank you so much, Bryan, for coming through.
Thank you.
You've helped so much. You've helped me understand this concept, and I hope you too at home have done the same. Now, if one thing is for certain, is that the new Inverter Technology improves all of its appliances in a significant way, so that you always have the right option of any appliance in your home with LG. Plus, you save yourself time, energy, and money.
Gain peace of mind with an efficient laundry cycle. Feel cooler air even at midday. Enjoy mealtime with food kept fresh all day long. Better inverter, LG Inverter.